However, Lord.
And then
Okay. Yeah.
do the clap, because it does help. 3, 2, 1. Close enough. Hi, welcome to another episode of the NOTSTEAM Productions L&L podcast. The worst thing to come in your ears since...
Gary Glitter.
Oh, I'm L. Grimshaw, and I'm joined by...
It's me, it's Liam Davies. Hi guys. Sorry about the Gary Glitter joke, although it is technically contextual. He's being released from prison.
It is.
If you haven't heard.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
Although, I must admit, that bit in the Joker where it uses a Gary Glitter song, it works!
Yeah.
So annoyingly,
Yeah.
it works.
It's kind of a banger,
Like-
unfortunately.
But enough on that, let's quickly change the subject.
Yeah.
What have we been watching, what have we been playing?
Well, I think I'll kick off because I've got a bit of news. In fact, I texted you at the time saying that I played a little prank on you, didn't I? Saying that I'm going to become a father, and
Yeah.
and all this and that, blah blah blah. And I was talking, of course, about my brand new Valve Steam Deck. So yeah,
Which, I have a bone to pick with you in regards to that,
Do you
to be
now?
honest. Because I was out with my mates at the time when you sent me that text, and obviously I just saw the preview that said, I've got some news, I'm going to be a father.
yeah.
So I instinctively got myself up off the table, ran outside to go and ring you, only to then read the rest of the message that said, I'm getting a Steam Deck. So at the time, I think I texted you back going, you're a twat.
Yeah, something along those
And
lines.
I genuinely mean
Yeah,
that.
no, that's fair.
I'm proud for you. I'm happy for you, but I also think you're a twat.
Well, I'm a happy twat. Because yeah, it's awesome. For those of you who don't know, it's essentially a handheld PC, gaming PC that looks like a Switch on steroids. And that's basically the best way I can describe it. It's probably, I don't know, I was showing you off air, like size comparison to a Switch Lite. You could probably fit 4 Switch Lites into the Steam Deck. You know what I mean? It's like maybe more. Like it's huge.
It's huge, but I
I'm
don't
talking
think...
like depth and stuff as well. Like not just
Okay.
yeah, like height and stuff. It's
Oh, is it a thick one?
yeah,
Is it quite a thick
yeah, thick set boy, yeah. But it's good because it's it's ergonomic and it actually has haptics as well. Yeah,
which I must admit, that is something that I do miss with the Lite, is that there is no feedback sometimes. So like, especially like when you're playing like games like Hades or something like that, like usually your controller will rumble to tell you you've taken a hit.
right.
But it doesn't do that. So a lot of the time, if you're not actually paying attention to your health, you don't realise when you've actually been hit sometimes because everything's flashing. And yeah, I miss the vibrations in my Switch Lite.
Yeah, yeah, and I didn't. I didn't even know it had that. I didn't even think. Because when has a handheld ever had any sort of vibration or haptic? Like, let's say it's not even just a vibration stuff. It's haptics. It's really quite nice.
Did the PS Vita?
I never played PS Vita, so I don't know.
I know it had the axis, so you could like move it around,
Yeah.
and it would move in game.
And I know it had a touch screen on the back of the, well, not really.
It did. It had 2 touch.
Not really a screen, but a touch pad, I guess, on the back.
I had the PS Vita. I thought it was a pretty decent console.
Yeah.
It was just a shame that Sony didn't seem to think so.
Yeah, it was like it's widely regarded as like it was one of the best places for indie games for a long time, and the Switch sort of took that mantle in terms of console gamers. That is, which is
The Switch is miles better console.
yeah, but it's not better than the Steam Deck. it's kind of an unfair comparison because the price points are a bit off. So I'll tell you what I paid for mine. I paid $540 for mine. So it's steep. It's more than a PS5.
That is.
And that doesn't even come with the dock. Like the dock's sold separately. And the official dock is £80. And I thought, no, thank you. Got an unofficial one off Amazon for £30. Had good reviews. I've tried it, tested it out. It's perfect. It does.
To be fair though, £80 isn't.
It's not too steep, no. And it's not egregious. But I thought, a third of the price at £30 does the same thing. Why not? So it does everything that the Switch does in terms of handheld, and then you pop it on the thing and it comes up on your TV. But because it's got the whole gaming PC sort of mindset, you can swap it from gaming mode, which is similar to say the Switch, like the Switch's UI, how you scroll through your games in your library on the store or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you can switch it to desktop mode, where it has like a mouse and you can connect a mouse and a keyboard and use it like an actual PC.
Oh.
So it sort of trumps the Switch in that sense as well. That there's there's capability for mods and stuff. Like I've learned a lot about operating systems and stuff in the past week. There's a few things that were a little bit fiddly to get certain games running sort of smoother, I guess.
Because can you not? Am I right in saying that you can take the buttons out and alter it to sort of your, or at least that was one of their intentions when they first sort of announced that they were doing it, is that they were going to have it where you could like completely rip it apart and rebuild it how you wanted it?
No.
No? Okay.
I think I've seen a video of what you're talking about. I think that was some prototype.
Yeah.
There's a new pad actually that's come out recently. The PS5 like Pro pad that's come out that has like removable analog sticks. And you can sort of change them up, and I don't really know what that does, but that looks super cool. And just to finish off on the Steam Deck, obviously it's linked up to Steam, so it goes without saying. And the price difference between PC games and the console versions of them, it's ridiculous. Like, as a lifetime console player, I discovered that we've been getting ripped off for decades. It's ridiculous.
So we touched a little bit on this off air, and what do you think that is? Because I said maybe is it like a franchising thing, in that because you're paying for Sony's version of that license.
Like perhaps.
Do you think it's like something
that's like, that would only really make sense if it applied to sort of specific IPs, like say a certain PlayStation 1, but it applies to third party games as well. Like for example,
I have
once it's coming out, Hogwarts Legacy, which if you're pre-ordering that on console, it's what, £70 minimum.
60.
Maybe 60. Yeah.
The deluxe version, which is the one that Jay has gone for, that was 75, but it came with a bunch of.
Yeah, it comes with stuff. Yeah.
It comes with lots of free stuff.
But yeah, so if I want to pre-order that on Steam, it's about £50, and then if I want to pre-order it through CD Keys, which is another website where you buy the code and then just type the code into Steam and it redeems the game to your library. On there, it's like £35.99, and that's for a brand new game, pre-ordered. I don't know how they do it, how they get away with it, because you can actually buy like PlayStation Network codes on there and technically type them into your PlayStation and redeem a game that way. But I don't know if I trust it for a console. I feel like they'd be more region locked. That often happens, but I don't know. I'm still sort of like experimenting with it, and I suppose I've not said anything that I've been playing on it yet. The one game that I want to mention, Wildermyth, It's a game that I've been following for a while. It's only available on PC. I don't know if there's any plans to bring it to anything else. And it's sort of like fantasy XCOM.
Yeah.
But it's got a really cool setup. So it's like you're a band of heroes. You got your generic classes like warrior, mage, and like ranger. There's different classes that they can split off into, like subclasses. But after you've done, say, like the first part of the campaign, there'll be a period of peace. When I've been doing it, it's been like 10 or 11 years, and it'll show little snapshots of what what your characters have been up to in that period. Sometimes they'll have kids, and then maybe after the next period of peace, those kids will be at fighting age and they'll join your party. Or there's other stuff like you could, like my strongest warrior guy at the moment, he's on like this sort of side mission. There was like this altar with a flame in the middle that was calling his name, and he was sort of entranced by it. He grabs it, it turns his arm into like a flaming arm basically, and it gives him a new ability that he can shoot fire at people. And then with this sort of time progression thing, it sort of like expands over his body. Like maybe after the next 10 years, it'll show his portrait, and one of his legs is now just engulfed in flames as well. I've got another guy who
I really like.
It's really cool. Got another guy. He made a pact with some bird god, and at first he just sprouted wings, but then one of his legs changed to like a bird's leg, and now his head is a crow's head. And yeah, it's just there's so many like nice little touches, and some of your characters will they'll have relationships, they'll fall in love, or they'll be rivals, or just good friends.
It sounds amazing, that, because it sounds like you're actually sort of living that sort of adventure, and it's unfolding in front of you. And like I'm guessing it's somewhat procedural in that you can get like random characters and stuff. So like no two playthroughs should technically ever really be the same. Which I do love those kinds of games, because they do scope themselves really well. Speaking of crow-headed beings, I've been playing Death's Door.
Oh, nice little segue.
It's thank you. I'm proud of that one. And we didn't even know what we were going to talk about. So
just in sync as always.
Yeah, as always. It's brilliant. I love it. It's very Dark Souls, Studio Ghibli, cute little...
You're a little crow.
Classic sort of hack and slash, yeah. Yeah, he's like a little reapling. He's like... You're this tiny little crow, and then you're fighting these big, bad, like, bosses. Really imaginative. The puzzles are really well thought out and well paced, and they don't break the game up too much, because like sometimes you can get stuck in an area and you're just wandering around like, for fuck's sake, where am I meant to go? Which, to be fair, at the beginning of the game I was a little bit like that, because it follows the Dark Souls route of, sure, you can talk to people, but nobody really gives you anything worth. Like, nobody's like, go here, kill this dude, do this. So it is, a lot of it is like, well, which way do I go now? But I've just beaten the Frog King. So I've done the Witch and the Frog King. Both levels were amazing. It's hard as nails.
It is a tough game, yeah.
But it's very... You've just got to take your time with it, and you've got to die. You've got to...
Get good.
Get good.
Yeah.
Like, there's been bits now where... Because, like, you'll do them, like, waves, where it's, like, just before a boss section opens up, and you do, like, a wave of combat. It got to bits where I was, like, just trying so hard on that, and then I managed to do it with, like, just 1 bar of health left. And I was like, oh, you just breathe for a... Like, you're just like, oh, I could breathe again. Because they are just so intense, but really well paced. I think the combat is somewhat flawless because it's spam, 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 dodge, spam, 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 dodge, and it's very much just rinse and repeat, and learn the patterns. So I've been playing that. We've pre-ordered. We've got Hogwarts Legacy, which we are going to be starting tonight. Which I may record a little side piece just to let you know how it is. And other than that, I've been playing 60 rads or something. Rads per sec. So it's a little randomly generated like game where you've got to survive a nuclear apocalypse.
Okay.
Very, very simple game. You make decisions, and the end of every day, like your character upgrades or downgrades or whatever, and you've just got to keep the balance.
Right.
And it's how long have you got to survive. I've played maybe about an hour of it. It's really cheap. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It is kind of one of those that, so like I would do a run, then Jay would do a run, and then I would do another run, and we were trying to see like, and because again it's kind of random, you get different playthroughs. Like there was one where I think hers got invaded by mutant raccoons.
Nice.
That were left out in the wastelands. One of my characters just went insane, fully, within a couple of days. And it is quite fun. Like, it's one that there's not much to it. There's not much gameplay.
Yeah.
But it's a fun one to just maybe throw on if you're feeling a bit like, I want something. I want to wreck somebody's life, but I don't want to put in too much effort. Give them some soup. Give them some water. Or don't. Or whatever. You decide.
Cool.
Just
like a little indie game.
Butcher the person. Yeah. And they have another one which is set in space. Which, that's pretty cool as well. But, moving on to what we've been watching.
Oh yeah, go on.
We've both watched... Well, we're both up to date on Last of Us.
I'm not, actually.
Episode 3?
Oh yeah, I've seen episode 3. Oh yeah, I guess, yeah. Episode 4 drops today, I guess, so...
Technically,
yeah.
Yeah.
Best episode yet.
Nick Offerman's episode.
Best episode yet.
Yeah, brilliant.
By far.
Loved it. I really just...
I wasn't at all worried about what they were going to do with Bill at all running up to it, especially because I knew it was Nick Offerman that was going to be playing him. They went a completely different way. Like, we're doing this spoiler free, I guess. So obviously they went a completely different way, but it was just, I think it's exactly what the show needed. Like, not that it was doing bad.
Yeah.
I think it just, like, the heart.
It was a nice change.
Yeah, the heart that it showed in that episode was, and it really had the apocalypse as just the backdrop. Like, whereas in, like, the stuff like The Walking Dead, they're constantly throwing zombies into your face. Like, every other shot there's a zombie, like, but in Last of Us, I think you see one in that whole episode. And yeah, it's just, I think, it's just perfectly done.
Yeah, I think you see one
At the beginning, under that building.
Yeah, I think that's about it. I don't remember seeing that many. Again, I agree. I think the way that they changed it up, because obviously it was vastly different from the video game. Whilst keeping sort of the elements, there was a really nice, and this isn't so much a spoiler, but there was a really nice touch on that particular level having a lot of traps, because Bill is a sort of
survivalist,
and in the sort of TV show they do reference that level having a lot of traps, and I sort of, at that moment when they dropped it, that line, And it was kind of the throwaway
Oh, yeah.
line that if you've never played the game,
Oh yeah, it won't mean anything to you. No.
yeah. But because you, as a player of the game, you know where they're going. You know who Bill is. You know what kind of character
Yeah.
he is. You know, well, you think you
Well,
know
yeah.
where his story is gonna go. But they pull the rug from under you.
Big
But
time.
they know how to keep you happy because there was a lot of little nods and glimpses from the video game.
Like how they ended the final
that were
shot.
brilliant.
Like obviously no spoilers, but the
Beautiful.
final shot is taken pretty much from the game. Not in the same spot or anything, but it's something that they've done more than once in the game. Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was great, and as well, it's
quite,
like because they were so different with it, it makes me more excited for the rest of the series because even though, like, did you see the bit at the end where it shows what to expect in the next episode, like a little preview?
No.
So I did, and it's that bit where in the game where they turn off the motorway and they get ambushed. So it shows a bit of that, and I'm thinking like, whoa, but how different is that going to be? Like, how are they going to change that up? And I'd be totally fine if they keep it the same. You know, if it's just like a desperate struggle for survival in this city. You know, I don't know. Like, I just think whatever they do, it's going to be great, and I can't wait to see what they do.
Same. I want to make a particular shout out, spoiler free, but I do want to talk about this scene because it was phenomenal. Pedro Pascal and Nick Offerman sat across from each other with one of them being less than friendly. Was absolutely, that scene was shot perfectly. The sort of cheeky.
There's real humour in
what's he called
in the episode, wasn't there? Yeah.
What's Ron Swanson?
Yeah.
From Parks and Rec. The little charming smile that Nick Offerman does when he's a mischievous bastard. Is Nick Offerman, but I love him, and I was genuinely quite heartbroken at the end of that episode.
100%. I shed a tear in that episode.
It's such a well executed episode. It's a beautiful story. It's definitely, if you've not checked out Last of Us,
it's premium entertainment.
And just touching on something that you mentioned, because I feel like it's worth mentioning the comparisons between The Walking Dead and something like Last of Us. Walking Dead, whilst it has a few like really good episodes, like there are some episodes within that are fucking fantastic.
I thought the first series was great. I thought if they could have left it after the first series, and I would have been satisfied.
The best season for me was the season with the governor.
Yeah, the prison. Yeah,
that was the best season for me.
It was a good series
because of the governor.
Yeah, well, there was the governor. And there was what's her name? The old lady. That's it. Carol. She sort of got tough in that series, and she's doing some pretty
badass.
Doing some dark shit, but for the good of others.
That was the best season, and then it just tailed off. Last of Us. Whilst the clickers are obviously going to play a huge role moving forward, and I imagine we are going to see a lot of them. HBO know how to do it, and the thing is with Walking Dead is after a while it felt cheap.
Yeah, I just feel like with The Walking Dead, the pacing was off. They just lost all momentum. They had no idea like how to pace the show, and man, it got so dull. Where it literally
it became a soap opera with zombies.
Yeah, and it was like the whole series would be a big build up to whatever, big battle at the end, and that'd just be it. And yeah, no, fallen out of love with it. And have you seen how they're making Rick Grimes and Michonne movie? And you're like,
well, I
is
mean,
anyone
they
bothered
did
anymore?
the Fear the Walking Dead. No, they did the Fear the Walking
Which
Dead,
has got
and then they
which has
did
got worse, by the way. I started watching series 6 and it's awful.
Watched the first season. I watched the first season. Wasn't really that keen on it. I don't particularly like. I love zombie stuff, but Walking Dead really isn't that great because my biggest problem is it started at the end. So where do you sort of go from that? Like the comic books are all right. The comic books are good, but the TV show, you start at the end and there's no real sort of like goal for them to work to other than to just stay alive. Which after a while, a lot of the storylines in the TV show became very soap opera. They became very like, you've slept with my wife, oh you bastard.
That was in series 1.
Somebody gets bit. Well, exactly. It was, and there was stuff that felt like it was just getting rinsed, repeat, make the zombies look weirder. There we go. HBO, I think, with Last of Us, so far, we've not seen that many clickers. We've not seen that many.
I think we've seen enough.
Like infected.
I think we've seen enough so far.
Yeah,
It's episode 3. Like there's the bit in the museum, which I thought was done really well. Like those clickers look
brilliant.
Incredible. Like that was really good. But yeah, I've not really been watching anything else, so yeah, that's it for me.
Nah, I've not been watching anything else. Have I watched anything else? There was something I watched recently.
Oh, I just finished series 2 of Hunters on Amazon. Which is the Jews that band together to hunt high-ranking Nazis.
The Nazis.
Yeah. In series 2, they're chasing the Nazi, Mr. Hitler. If you were wondering.
Wait. Oh, so he's. Oh, okay.
It's pretty good actually. I'd recommend that.
I actually really liked the first season. I thought it was quite cool. Like I liked because it had that sort of Tarantino vibe to it.
Yeah, it's quite James Bond. The second series, sort of globe-trotting. Like starts in Europe and then they're in South America. It's like, yeah, it's got some cool vibes.
Well, I started watching Devils in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Which is some girl runs away from a cult and she gets taken in by a psychiatrist and weird shit starts happening and it's not great, but I've been putting it on while writing, so it's more just background noise and something to sort of refresh my brain, remind me what's not good.
Yeah.
So I learned to sort of recognise it in other things. I'd like to see more of gameplay in this series.
Oh, series.
Well,
so I've
video
gone
game.
for a genre.
Oh, genre. Okay, that kind of works. I'll kick off and go with I'd like to see the Rocket Punch from GTA in The Last of Us.
Okay, I don't even know what the Rocket Punch is.
Oh, it's brilliant. So basically, it started life as a cheat. I think in San Andreas, which was the one where it had like some gnarly like cheat codes. Ones where basically when you punch a character, it creates a mini explosion, and it like sends them flying.
Oh right, it sends them flying. Yeah.
I would love to feel like One Punch Man in The Last of Us and just run around punching everything out of existence, because the one gameplay mechanic I absolutely loved in The Last of Us games is it's got great melee combat. Like, with also brilliant sort of like animation as well that actually feels genuine. But just imagine like punching a clicker in the face and like a mini explosion, and they just go flying off the map. Like how
Yeah,
badass that
pretty
would
good.
feel. And
To be fair, I'd want them to just explode.
yeah, they could just explode.
Like, it's got good explosion mechanics and just send viscera everywhere. Yeah, I'd be
Yeah,
up for that.
it'd be well good. It could be called The Last of
Yeah.
Us One Punch Man Edition. And you get to play as One Punch Man himself instead. Just running around.
Well, when it comes to PC, people start modding it. So yeah, it won't be long.
I've seen people do like a Fallout version of it, and it's brilliant. It works really, really well. Like just this like bold character running up to a death claw and like punching it in the face, and it just flies off the map. It's absolutely brilliant. But go on, what have you gone for?
So I've gone for. It actually ties into playing Wildermyth. So I'd like to see more aging mechanics in all RPGs, basically. I just like the idea of your character growing older and not necessarily just becoming older and it being like an aesthetic thing, but it having sort of gameplay mechanic, like it does stuff to the gameplay. Like I think Seafood does it really well. I know it's technically not an RPG, but that's cool how you get older and like you look older, but you do more damage and you have less health. Like there's a little trade off there. Like I say in Wildermyth, the guy who is slowly turning into a bird, every time he does, his speed goes down, which is how far he can move before he attacks. But his potency goes up, which is how strong his magic attacks are. And he's a mage, so
it works.
That trade-off works. Yeah, exactly. But I've got another character where the trade-off doesn't necessarily work.
Is it the guy that's on
fire? No. His is amazing. There's someone, they got this gem embedded in their eye by mistake, and it's slowly like sort of growing and taking over their whole body basically. It means that they can't really move around. They're quite powerful, but they can't really move very far. But she's an old lady. She's going to retire soon anyway.
Off into the pasture.
But yeah, so it's
round the barn.
Yep.
Don't look this way. Look that way.
But yeah, I think it needs to be done in more games, and I think with the technology we've got for the next gen stuff now, like there could be some really cool aging mechanics going on that we're only really getting in like little indie games. So I want to see a triple A.
I can think of
chucking into a big RPG.
I can think of one game that had an aging mechanic, but I don't think it really made vastly that much difference. I think it was more just aesthetic. But it was Fable.
Yeah, I was thinking Fable. But yeah, that's like, 20 years old?
Yeah, Jay's also reminding us Sims, which technically,
well, yes. It's technically true, but, Sims can
I just like fucking with them. I think it's brilliant. I would like to see, like, a sort of like a roguelike Skyrim. That sort of epic open worldness, but you get like a single run as like a hero, and then when you die you start off at the beginning and you can go and find the old legacy and carry it on, or you can carve your own new legacy. And that could have quite a cool aging mechanic. Because I would also thinking like you could have it where your player can actually just retire if you want. Like you can
get to a certain
age, and you go and live in a village or something with your wealth. But like you're more likely to be attacked by NPCs who want your money or something like that. And so you still likely to die of old age anyway. So you'd have to restart your legacy. Your legacy will always like go back, and like you could have the end like goal is to get like say a ring that gives you immortality, so you can just constantly play as that one character.
Right.
That could be your trophy.
So anytime they die, they come back as that person. Yeah. That's pretty cool, actually. I like how the goal of the roguelite is to end the roguelite. Yeah. That's quite a cool concept, actually. I quite like that.
I think it would work really well. And I think as well, because you could sort of do it where, like I say, if you do a really good run and you get like loads of amazing loot, you're like, oh, actually, I want to continue that legacy and like go that way. So like you go and get the loot back, and but your stats might not be the same. So you might have to adapt a new play style, which would change the legacy from what it could have possibly been. It's a game that has so much potential, and I would make it like super immersive, like Skyrim. That's why I use the example of like if you want to play it first person, go for it. If you want to go and retire and build a cottage somewhere, do it. Anybody listening that knows gameplay with like building mechanics in fantasy games, please leave us a comment underneath, because I know somebody that only plays them kind of games. But yeah, that's what we would like to see. And to be fair, I like the idea of aging, and I do really want to play Sifu for that. Is there any others?
I was thinking, because there's got to be. I imagine there's a bunch of like indie titles that have some sort of aging mechanic that I don't know about. But when you look at like the AAA game space, there's nothing that really does it that's been recent.
No.
Like Fable came to mind for me, and you mentioned Fable, but yeah, it's like 20 years old.
Yeah, and then the last ones weren't really that good, so But yeah, no, that makes me kind of sad, because I do want more aging mechanics. I suppose if you take something like Assassin's Creed, they'll like by the time you've completed it, you'll be about 90. So in that respect, that is an aging mechanic.
Yeah, they could. I suppose with something like that, they could just have it that you'll age like at a certain story beat.
Yeah, which I think it does sort of happen that way.
I was thinking, there is, but that for me, that's not really an aging mechanic. That's just them changing his,
there's
the skin
no
of the character,
like depth
after a cutscene,
Yeah, because like with a fantasy, if your character gets older, you won't be able to wield heavier swords. You know what I mean? So like you might have to change.
Or as they get older, they'll have a better understanding of magic, so they'll be more powerful. Stuff like that makes sense.
You could lose an arm in my fantasy one, and have to like say you were an archer, and you've lost your arm. What are you gonna do? Shoot with your feet?
No, your teeth.
That gives no.
That's what Green Arrow did when he fights Superman with Batman. The Superman versus Batman film, the comic that it's based on. Old man Green Arrow helps him out, and he's got an arm missing because Superman pulled it off. So he goes around shooting with his mouth. But yeah, not practical really. What I thought you were going to say was like, oh yeah, you lose an arm, but then replace it with like a big spike or something. Some sort of weapon.
I suppose you could do. Depends on where you lose it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
Like you lose it up here, or if you lose it down there.
Oh, that can happen in Wildermyth as well. Actually, if your character gets injured, you can choose whether they you can either have them die but do a load of damage before they do, or they'll be maimed. And I had a woman, she got killed, and I chose maimed, and she goes, well, it's only a leg, and then disappeared. And the next time I got her back up to health, she, like, her character model, she had a leg missing and she had a peg leg. And I've got another one that she got killed. She was maimed, and the attack that got her, like, it was like a spiky attack, and it's basically blinded her in one eye. So she has an eye patch now on her.
That is cool.
On her thing. And for the rest of that campaign, she had, like, less accuracy. You're like, that's cool, because it makes sense, and it all ties in together. It's
it was kind of cool.
I can't speak highly enough of that game.
It was kind of cool in Shadow Mordor, where the Nemesis system, if an enemy came back after you'd fought them, like, sometimes they'd be missing an arm, or they'd have this big, like, gnarly scar up their face.
Yeah, it depends how you kill them. Because sometimes, say, if you kill them with fire, they'll come back as...
The burned.
Like, whatever the name was before. The burnt, yeah. Or, like, you can get, like, beasts to attack them, and they'll come back with, like, huge animal bites on them, or claw marks and stuff. Yeah, that's really cool. My favourite one of those, well, I've got to mention it while we're on it. Like, when one of them comes in range, or he spots you or whatever, and then the camera zooms into them and they, like, have a little monologue, they say a little bit of stuff. There's some where when it zooms into them, they'll look at the camera and they just go and then it just zooms back out again. You're like, oh, okay, was that it? Great.
So we need more stuff like that. I like games where, you know, like, you get like a permanent scar after you, like, get knocked out.
Yeah.
Fable
did that in Fable as well.
It wasn't very good though. Again.
No,
but it was
ahead of its time, I guess.
To be fair, if that was made now, like, some of the...
It's like an indie title.
Yeah, well, your hair grew. You had to regularly go to the barbers for, like, upkeep and stuff. Like, it was using mechanics that now, like, Witcher were bragging about, that they were like, oh yeah, we've done this, and it's like, yeah, Fable did that.
Yeah,
Fable did that years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, they pointed it out in Red Dead Redemption 2. You're like, well, yeah, it's cool, and stuff, but it's, you know, it's not new.
Yeah.
It's 20 years old. That.
Yeah.
It's like morality meters. They've been around for 20 years. Like Fable did that.
It needs changing that, because sometimes things aren't always black and white. I think Witcher does a good job of that. But we are getting very off topic.
Yeah, we are. Are we moving on to our
5 memorable boss fights
feature? Yeah.
So,
I'll kick off. So you said memorable, although I can't remember the name of this boss. Although I do remember fighting it. It's the first boss from Death Stranding. I don't know if you've got that far.
No.
But it's basically this guy. It's a giant BT, basically, which looks like a oily sludge monster. And it's absolutely massive. It's like the size of a building. And the sort of arena that you're in is like an old sort of rundown city, I guess, and you're jumping from roof to roof as it's like hurling stuff at you, and sometimes it's like swallows a building, so you have to get off it quick, and you don't really have any weapons at the time either. You've only got some grenades, so you're really having to time your grenades properly, and like it's quite challenging, but because it's such a gorgeous game, like, and there's all this like black goo all over the screen, it looks incredible, and yeah, it just stuck out because it was one of the best looking boss fights I've seen. They may even get better in the game. I don't know. I've probably only done 8 or 10 hours on Death Stranding. I do need to
completely undermined by the fact that your arsenal literally comes from an arse. Norman Reedus' piss, poo, and blood.
And blood. Yeah. Yeah, that's the weapon that you're using at the time. It's a blood grenade. which it's mental, but
Stop.
yeah, it's a cool boss fight.
Stop letting him make games. But no,
He can carry on making the games because the mechanics are great. Stop writing them.
Just stay away from the story, you weirdo. Go and see a doctor.
So go on, what's
My
yours?
first one is Boulder in God of War.
Oh, okay, yeah, also on my list.
I kind of expected.
I couldn't choose a particular one, but if I had to, I'd just go with the opening one.
That opening boss fight in the God of War 2018 was phenomenal. It was really... That first one felt brutal. Like, it was up close and personal.
Getting thrown through trees and stuff. Oh, so good.
And, like, don't get me wrong, some of the boss fights in God of War were probably a lot more epic. Like, there was one of the ones in Helheim that was particularly good with Fenrir. Like, absolutely love that. But that first Boulder fight, I think, is the best God of War boss fight because it does just feel barbaric.
It's good. The reason I like it so much is because it's like a one-on-one, and the similar size, I guess. Even though Kratos is technically a bit bigger than the other guy, but usually it's Kratos going up against a giant-sized enemy. But they were so well matched, and it felt like that when you're playing it as well. And you'd get some really good hits in, but then he'd just grab you and throw you, and then it'd initiate a cutscene, and it's all seamless.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It's so good. Yeah,
I kind of want them to do a PS5 version of God of War, like as a set, just purely because of the fact that boss fight with the sort of adaptive triggers and the haptics would be it would be amazing. But yeah, so that's my number 5 is Boulder, which
cool.
Great
shout.
Oh, absolutely.
It was my number 3. That.
Oh, is it number 3? Fair dues.
It was on mine. But yeah, my next one is, again, I don't know the name of it, but it's the first boss from the Metroid Dread game. It's quite an easy boss, and it's still sort of teaching you like the tutorial really when you fight it. But I just love the sort of contextual way that you're supposed to beat it. And like there's a specific move that it does where you can slide underneath it, and just that mechanic for me is so cool. Like you run head on at something that's going to do you loads of damage, but if you slide at the right time, it'll go over you, you'll go under it, and then you're at the back and you can do some damage. And there's the whole like perfect time counter thing, which leads to another really cool animation. And yeah, it was a tough one really because all the bosses in that are really good. But yeah, I think the first one just edged it for me, just because it's early on in the game, you're still getting your feel for it, and you just feel so badass, like right out the gate. And I think that game does so well with like the power curve anyway, making you constantly unlocking new stuff. But yeah, right at the start when you've literally got like, I'm not even sure if you've got rockets at that point. I think you've only got like your blaster. But she's so manoeuvrable, and they sort of show that so well with that first boss. That's why I went for that one.
Well,
have you played that, by the way?
No.
No, I'll have to lend it you. I've got that on hard copy.
Yeah, well, the only
great.
Metroid game that I've played is to completion was Metroid Corruption for the Wii. Like, right. I think I got it.
Yeah, I think
I got it with my Wii, and I just like played it. I've never really played them, the entire series. So yeah,
definitely worth a shot.
My number 4 is probably not that much of a surprise, but it's Gehrman, the first hunter from Bloodborne. So
Right. Okay.
he
I know nothing about this
so
guy.
he's a particularly so throughout the game he's sort of in the hunter's nightmare, which is hunter's dream, sorry, which is like this safe space whilst all this like evil was plaguing Yarnum. And he sort of guides you, but not in like a helpful way, in a Soulsborne way of still alive, and you're just like fucking
Right.
helpful. But he's just always there. And then right at the end of the game, he is effectively the last boss in the base game.
Right. Yeah.
Having sort of completed the night, the impossible task, he meets you and he's like, yeah, only one of us can continue because, like, I'm the best. You can't be the best. And he is a fucking hard boss fight because he's kind of a reflection of how you've been playing the game.
Right.
So his move sets are kind of similar to what you've been playing, like sort of the rolling, the dodging, the like charged attacks, and it's basically fighting yourself, and it's in a really beautiful area. It's in a sort of like meadow of white flowers, and like the sky's pink,
Right.
so it's like really like surreal. In like every time you move, like all these petals sort of appear, which that's a beautiful feature in a lot of Soulsborne games, is like the feel of like your attacks, like the way that the world interacts with your attacking. It does make it feel like so much better than just your bog standard hit him, hit him, hit him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that boss fight, like after you've completed it, you feel badass. Now, the cool thing about Bloodborne is there's a certain item that you've got to find 3 of to get the true ending, which straight after defeating German, you're presented with another boss fight who's just as hard.
Oh.
Um, so it's a double whammy, but German is definitely my number 4.
Cool. So I'll skip my next one because it was Boulder. But yeah, my second from the top is Mr. Freeze from the. I'm pretty sure it was Arkham Origins. I think.
Asylum. No, City.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, whichever one it was, when you're fighting him, I think it's in his lab, and it's sort of adapts to how you're playing. So if you were to, because you can only get him with like stealth, like sneak attacks, but you can't just walk up behind him and sneak attack him.
Yeah.
So you've got to like wait round a corner, or my personal favourite is off the gargoyles. So hang on the gargoyle when he comes past, sneak attack. But then he starts putting like mines on the gargoyles, so then you can't do the same attack again. And yeah, it's just a really clever way of sort of making you think on your feet, and having to utilise the environment and all your gadgets as well. Yeah, it was just cool, and he'd say things as well as he was doing it, like, "Oh, you think I don't know about you hiding up high," and stuff like that. So yeah, that was a cool one. And yeah, I just wish there was more like that as well, where it was, it is kind of scripted in a way, but you could go at it in any sort of order you wanted to. And yeah, one of the better boss fights, I think, especially in that whole series. I don't think they did boss fights that well in that game.
No, there was a few memorable ones, but for the most part, they were pretty terrible. Just go-
The Deathstroke one was pretty good. That comes to mind. That was a good like one-on-one, sort of similar to the Boulder fight in a way, where it's like you feel like he's an adversary. They're sort of on par with each other, and there's lots of like countering and like parries and stuff. But yeah, I just like the whole how Mr. Freeze is smart. he's smarter than everyone else you play in those games.
Like, it was really cool. Like, I remember the first time you fight him, and it was because you'd always use the same sort of plans. And to be fair, that was a feature in the game previous. Like, it's not like it's something new. But the way that he did it was really like, fuck, like, damn it. And you had to like rethink your strategy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, speaking of that style, my not next one, but I'm going to use this as my next one, is David from The Last of Us. Because it kind of used the same like principle of adaptive to how you're playing. So like he would sort of spend longer in areas where you might have sort of been last seen, and like there was all that broken glass, so you had to like be careful where you stepped, and it's a very intense sort of battle, which like I really liked the sort of feel of that level. I think that was one of the sort of highlights for me in that game, because it felt very well executed.
Yeah, that's only gotten better as well with the remake. I played that recently, and that whole section, because the place is on fire as well, and the fire is slowly growing, and and there's more smoke everywhere, and it's really atmospheric, and it's a good one. I was thinking earlier actually when I was going through them, I was like, Last of Us doesn't really have bosses.
Well,
I'd sort of forgotten about David, because I was thinking there's the bloater when you in the school when you're with Bill, but really that's just the first time you fight a bloater. Not really a boss.
It's a mini boss.
Although there was one. Yeah, there was a boss in the second one under the hospital.
The Rat King.
That was horrific.
Yeah, I hated that.
What? That was yeah.
It was a particular low point in the game for me.
But / high point.
No. It definitely felt good. Like, it felt quite intense, but at the same time, I hated it because I died a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm not about that life.
And in horrible ways.
Yeah.
With that thing as well.
Like ripping your head off and...
Yeah. And how at one point a part of it like broke away from itself.
Oh yeah, that was fucking horrible.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It should have been on my list, that, to be fair. That's a good boss, that.
It's not too late.
Yeah. But my top one, I don't think it's better than this, is Hyperion from the Returnal. It's one of the last ones. I think it's the second to last boss. And basically I've chosen this one because of how it looks and how it sounds. So it looks like basically some like giant alien playing almost like an organic piano, or no, more like an organ, because it's got all the big pipes and stuff going up, but it's sort of alive, and like it doesn't turn around. It just carries on playing the piano, and there's this like epic music going on, and like as it's playing, there's like little it's opening up little portals that are then shooting stuff at you.
No, I hate it.
So it's strange. Not a particularly difficult boss, but just how it looked and sounded was incredible. It's a hard thing to describe, really. I'd say either get good and play more Returnal and get further, or maybe watch that on YouTube, because that's well worth the watch. Put some headphones on as well, because the music in that is brilliant.
Oh, quick shout out to one thing I wanted to mention about Death's Door. Soundtrack on that, amazing. Really, really good.
Yeah.
But back to Returnal. I do want to get further into it. It's fucking hard, man, though.
Get good.
My number 2, Dr. Ock from Spider-Man. Which
yeah.
I think it was more the aesthetic more than anything. I don't think it was particularly memorable boss fight in terms of just hit the dude. You know what I mean? But the actual setting of it, the actual look of it was absolutely gorgeous. And the game, whilst I don't think the game was particularly like the combat was that inspiring, it served the purpose. And the purpose being it feels good to beat up bad guys.
Yeah.
But that boss fight, because of the aesthetic, because of the fact that you had this new suit and like you had all your abilities at this point, so you just like flying through it, like it felt good. Like it felt like a good last boss in what was already a really good game. It was like a nice send off, and yeah, that's probably mine. And it was very moody with like lightning and stuff, so it like really did feel dramatic.
Yeah, no, good shout. I'm all out. I've finished all mine.
Well, I have one more to mention. Oh yeah, because I accidentally stole.
Yeah, go on.
GLaDOS from Portal.
Oh,
I recently replayed it. I think the whole premise of the game and the way that the boss fight is just an extension of what you've already been doing, and it's all about timing and stuff like that. Like, it's just really good. But like, I was playing it with headphones in on my Switch, and hearing the dialogue, hearing the talking, hearing the, what GLaDOS is basically berating you for trying to kill her and stuff. It worked really well, and it is a sort of timeless game. Like, I want more Portal, but I'm glad that there's only 2. Because who's to say a third one would work?
Well, Valve don't do
trilogies.
Third games anyway.
They don't like trilogies.
Yeah, so it's not gonna happen. Nah.
I feel like they've backed themselves into a corner with like that. Like, we'll double down on this marketing, and it's like, no, seriously, no. Let's just release a game. Like, years later, they just physically can't now because they're crippled with this self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, they did do Half-Life Alyx, the VR one, which by all accounts is meant to be an excellent game.
Oh, it's not the one I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of a different one.
Yeah, I'm saying it's like one of the best sort of VR games out there, by all accounts. But yeah, it's not a sequel, is it really? You're playing a different character. It's pretty limited in terms of who's got access to it, because very few people got VR sets still. Although I did have a go on VR set over the weekend. My brother's got a Quest 2, and yeah, slightly off topic, but they're awesome. They also have haptics, which is nice. That's
boss
fights.
Right. Oh, Nocebo vs. Plug. Fun.
Take it away.
I've been doing a lot of writing recently. I've been doing a lot of writing on my base novel, which is called Freaks Among Us, which I'm sure will be out at some point. But I'm writing it in 3 parts, Liam, and I'm about to complete part 2, which is going to go up as soon as after a quick proofread, but it's going to go up pretty much straight away. But part 1's already out, so check out part 1, which is Freaks Among Us. It's set in like a dystopian future where mutants exist alongside humans. You've read a lot of my writing style, so I tend to dabble in sort of like dark humor and sort of a lot of talking in my novels, like communication and stuff. So it's full of these weird interactions between characters that don't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
There's context to it, but it's about a TV-headed detective in the future trying to investigate a series of gas leaks that seem to target his kind.
Right.
That's the premise, and I'm about to finish part 2, so check out part 1. Available on our Patreon.
Cool.
Like and subscribe.
Hey. Yeah, good shit, man.
And moving on to our next topic, our main topic, our main scenario. Poker night. So, you owe Liam, the Xbox Mafia. In their air of wisdom, they loan you another 50,000 quid, which you have to triple in 24 hours.
So, I already owed them 100 grand, and they're like, yeah, you can have another 50. Oh, damn.
Luckily, you've been invited to a high-stakes poker game. Now, you can choose whichever tournament is which. You can choose the arena. The 4 people.
Yeah, the venue.
The 4 people that you've got to play against, and what you what you're drinking. All of yous, by the way, not just.
Oh, we're all drinking the same thing at mine. Oh yeah, big time.
So, who are you taking to?
Well, so first off, my venue is going to be the Normandy observation deck. Nice little setting, I think.
I've just realised I've lost.
Oh, well, you've not heard who's coming yet or what we're drinking, so we'll see. But yeah, I've gone for Normandy observation deck because it's just cool. You know, there's a window there. I'll have us orbiting a star or something, so you got like a little red dwarf in the background. You know, certainly get people's attention as they walk in. So yeah, I think you know, what's better than a spaceship in space? With a nice
yeah, no, that would be quite nice. I've gone for the casino in Rapture in the first BioShock because at least you're under the sea. But I've also realised I didn't specify when, and obviously it's not a nice place to visit, so it's 50-50, I guess.
Well, depends. Yeah, it depends when. Yeah. Oh well.
But
I know where I'd rather go.
Who are you taking?
So, I'm going to take. I'll tell you all 4, and then because there's a connection. See if you can tell me what the connection is. I don't even know why I've chosen these. I don't know. So I've gone for Joel from The Last of Us. Pagan Min from Far Cry 4,
Okay.
bad guy from Far Cry 4. Booker DeWitt, to mention Bioshock, his main dude from Bioshock, and Talion, the main guy from the Shadow of Mordor games.
They're all voiced by Troy Baker.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, so I'm going to be playing with 4 versions of Troy Baker, but they all actually sound quite different.
I did not know he played Pagan Min.
Yeah, exactly. Because he puts on a weird accent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who
are you bringing?
I'm bringing Arthur Morgan, Mjolnir from God of War.
How's he going to play? He's got no hands. It's just a head on a table.
Nick Valentine from Fallout. And
which one's Nick? Sorry, remind me which one he is.
The robot private detective.
Oh, the detective. Yeah.
And Trish.
He's an android, actually.
Oh.
But, yeah.
And Trish from DMC. Because she's like a demon and she's pretty badass. And she can be the sort of distraction. She's the blonde one.
Cool. I've never played DMC, really.
She's the blonde one. So she can be the distraction. But what you drinking?
Right. Fair enough, yeah. We're all drinking the fine vintage of Norman Reedus' piss. Oh, because, why not? And I couldn't think of anything funny. So...
Well...
I just want to say as well, by the way, that when I was coming up with the people who were going to come, I was trying to think of blind people from video games. And just be like, I'm guaranteed victory because they're all blind. They're going to be terrible at cards. But then I thought, I was kind of picking on disabled people, so I was like, nah, I'll get 4 Troy Bakers instead. Obviously, that's the logical next step.
So...
what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Nuka Shine.
Oh, that's so weird. I nearly put Nuka-Cola.
Well...
But I was like, that's not
Nuka Shine.
Nuka Shine, that makes... Yeah.
So it basically, you drink it and you black out. And, like, you wake up, like, days later.
Wow, I think I'd rather drink Norman Reedus' piss.
But I like the idea of them going to Rapture when it's all, like, nice and, like, everybody's, like, civilized.
Yeah, that's
drinking the moonshine and waking up and it's, like, full civil war. And they're just like, oh, shit. Like, this isn't good. But, yeah, I'm going to still be wanted by the robot mafia, I think. And I chose Mimir because I thought, like, he has no hands, so I'll easily be able to beat him because I'll be able to see his cards. They'll just be on the table.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But I also thought, like, cool to tag along. Like...
Although, to be fair, don't his eyes mean that he can, like, does he have, like, enchanted eyes so that he can see stuff? Couldn't he see your cards?
Then I'd have him executed as a witch.
He's already ahead. He's just ahead.
Fuck's sake, right, well... I didn't think the task through, even though I wrote it.
Well, to be fair, God knows what's going to happen at mine. We've got 3, like, mainline heroes and Pagan Min.
Yeah. There's probably going to be a bloodbath.
So it's like, is he just going to shoot everyone? Yeah.
It'd probably make a good sort of, again, Tarantino-style movie. Like, where they all end up having this, like, big confrontation and it's a bloodbath.
Yeah.
So, one sort of final... Oh, no. Moving on to... so, do you think you would survive your
Game? The poker night?
Do you think you get the money back?
I might survive. Because Talion's pretty hard. Like, he's got, like, magical powers and stuff. He might protect me. Yeah. Like, Joel and Booker DeWitt are just men, aren't they? They're just normal dudes. But then, so's Pagan Min. Yeah, I reckon I'd survive. I don't know if I'd win. But yeah. I'm not sure you're going to win, to be honest. If you're going up against Mimir, the smartest man ever. And even Arthur Morgan, he spends a lot of time playing poker.
Like I said, I didn't think the task through. Right, well, moving on. I want to tell you a weird urban legend about a video game.
Please do.
So, we've talked about Pokemon quite a lot. Do you ever remember hearing growing up about the tales of kids killing themselves after playing Pokemon? So, apparently it was a big thing in Japan, sort of around that time period, around the time that Pokemon came out. And one of the sort of urban legends on the internet was that a lot of these kids killed themselves after hearing the music of Lavender Town, which yeah, no, of course it's fucking bullshit. But it's a weird urban legend that does exist on the internet. And the argument that it's Lavender Town and lavender's used to help people fall asleep, and there's like people that have done the sort of analytics of the song, and it's like a message, and it's all nonsense. It's just
people believe it though.
Yeah, but it exists, and I like stuff like that, even though they are nonsense. They're just fun little stories on the internet.
It's interesting to see what people will believe, and makes you think as well. It's like somebody's sat there and come up with this bullshit.
Yeah, definitely.
And somehow it's spread and like sort of gained a life of its own, and strange.
Well, yeah, like there was the one with the Minecraft with the sort of haunted character model or something. I don't know. Where if he joined your server, you were going to die. But yeah, there was all this YouTube footage of people having him, and it's like, well, how did you upload it?
It's called Herobrine.
Researchers informed me he's called Herobrine. He is very real. He will invade your quiet little town and murder your children.
Is he the one that's in Smash Brothers now?
I think so, yeah.
You supposedly lose your save.
You lose your save. You don't die.
Oh.
Wait, actually, that sounds real, and that sounds annoying.
It's probably worse.
Yeah.
Oh wait, what the fuck? I think that one is real.
And they add it into the updates. Every time
Oh.
they do an update.
Right, well, moving off that sad topic. I'm sorry, no.
It's not real. Just to clarify, it's not real.
Oh, it's not real. Moving on to our final closing hypothetical. Would you rather give Bowser a pedicure?
I'm so glad you said pedicure, but go on.
Or Donkey Kong a wax?
I'm so glad you said wax. Pedicure, that's toes, isn't it?
Yeah, but remember, he's got claw feet. That's going to be like an old man job.
But what, waxing Donkey Kong, what, entirely? Turn him into a bald monkey? Because I kind of want to see that.
It's whatever he wants, man. If he wants...
I'd love to wax a gorilla, yeah.
You would get twatted so hard.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I'd have to put him to sleep or something first, yeah.
That's like...
although if it's Donkey Kong, he's sentient, you know, he's coming to me. He's like, dude, I need to...
Yeah, but he's still a gorilla, so I don't think there's a chance that he might twat you. Like, just... out of instinct.
Yeah. Possibly. But if it like came down to it, I would rather fight Donkey Kong than Bowser. Bowser's like a dinosaur with spiky shell and breathes fire.
So you
claws.
would give Donkey Kong
I would
a
wax.
bikini wax.
I would.
It's whatever
wax.
he asks for.
Yeah, wax him anywhere, whatever he wants. Yeah.
Well, you
Big
heard
time.
it.
But yeah.
Oh no, I don't need to answer.
Oh, go on.
No, I'd probably give.
What are you leaning
I'd
towards?
probably give Bowser a pedicure.
Why is that?
Less likely to hurt him, and therefore get hit.
Well, yeah, I suppose potentially. Yeah, if you're just filing his nails, I guess.
And like, you know, he might want a splash of colour, and you can do a bit of painting, and if you're
Somehow I don't think he does want a splash of colour.
You never know. He might be feeling in a fruity mood that day. But if it's Bowser, not Bowser. If it's Donkey Kong, you've literally just waxing like a gorilla, and that just sounds like torture.
Yeah. I think it's a good name for a band, that, Waxing a Gorilla.
What would be fucking brilliant is if he didn't know about it because he's sentient as well. So you just tranked him like some sort of sick practical joke, like, oh, we've waxed the gorilla again. Some gorilla in a zoo being like completely naked, like, what the fuck? Like,
I'd leave him with just a bit of hair on his head though, so he almost looks human.
oh, that would look weird.
Yeah, it'd be so weird. Give him like a short back and sides. But yeah, completely waxed everywhere else.
Right. So yeah, you'd go with Donkey Kong.
Yeah, big time.
I'd be filing those big ass, like, dragon feet.
You probably need like an industrial sander or something.
I'd sell it on the black market as well. Like,
Sell what?
his like nail filings. Sweep it up.
Oh man.
I'll be like real dinosaur filings.
Does anyone want some digital filings?
No, it'd be real.
Oh, of
Meaning
course, yeah,
you would also have to deal with the hair afterwards, like getting it out of your shop. Because in this scenario, you run a waxing salon.
I've got my own barber shop. Or waxing salon. What the fuck? Exclusively primates only.
Sasquatch at a push.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Right. Who wouldn't do Bigfoot?
Yeah, and I only do happy endings. No other kind.
Where is this going? Right, we should probably end it there before we start saying some weird shit.
Yeah, on that note.
Right, thanks for watching. Piss off. No.
Ciao.
See you later. Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.